Hey everyone, welcome back to Multi-Dimensional Geek. I've got my buddy Ricky here again.
Hello.
We're reviewing the last 6 movies of the 18 movies we've seen this summer, and let's get to it. Hey everyone, welcome back to Multi-Dimensional Geek. Like I said, I've got my buddy Ricky here, and
Hello.
On this week's episode, we're going to review the final 6 movies of our summer movie review series. This first movie we're going to review today is Yesterday, starring Himesh Patel and Lily James. It basically starts out going through the life of a failed musician.
Yeah, and then on the way home from one of his shows, there was like this miraculous accident, and like the power went out, and when the power came back on, he
got hit by a bus.
Yeah, he got hit by a bus, and he was in the hospital, and he was with some of his friends, and he started singing a Beatles song, and then they said, "Wow, did you write that yourself?" And he goes, "Well, what do you mean?" And
well, basically, he woke up in a alternate reality where the Beatles didn't exist.
yeah, and for me, I'm not like a huge Beatle fan myself, but I enjoyed the movie. I thought it was a funny romantic comedy. Kate McKinnon was in the movie, and Ed Sheeran was also in the movie, and they did a good job.
Yeah, I really liked it. I started loving the Beatles really in high school when I was in band, and some of the other people would always be playing Beatles music. So I really liked the movie. It was a lot of fun. It was funny. It was charming, and overall, I think I would rate that one a 3.5.
Yeah, and I would give it slightly a little bit lower. I'd give it a 3. And there were a lot of other occurrences happening besides, not just the Beatles people not knowing who the Beatles were. There were other things that disappeared too, or weren't there anymore.
Pepsi. Was it Pepsi or Coke that was missing?
I think it was Pepsi.
I think it was Pepsi. He asked for Pepsi, and she's like, "Well, what?" On the plane.
Yeah.
It was pretty funny how some of the other differences that changed in this little parallel universe. So I was just glad that they didn't end it with him just like waking up from a coma, because I thought the whole thing was charming, and the ending was perfect.
Yeah, so 3 stars for me.
All right, 3.5 for me.
And our next movie is another Marvel movie. It's called Spider-Man Far From Home, and it has Tom Holland in it. He reprises the role of Spider-Man. And you also have
Jake Gyllenhaal.
as
Mysterio.
Thank you. And Happy Hogan's in it from the Iron Man movies.
Yeah, Happy Hogan.
And this one is the fallout of the Endgame that we saw and reviewed earlier.
Yeah, there's a lot of little mentions about what happened in Endgame, the blip, and how everything changed afterwards.
And and it was some of it's very funny because some people aged about 5 years and they were still in high school.
Yeah, the people who didn't blip were, they aged, so they had graduated high school and gone off to college. But the people who had dusted, as people would say it, when they came back, they were still the same age, so they had to go back to high school. Although Peter made a really funny joke about how the fact that technically he was 5 years older, so he was legal to drink. And I think it was Happy that wasn't that didn't go for that joke.
No, he didn't really go for that one, but I really enjoyed it. But I'm a fan of the Marvel movies. I thought that it was very well done for the follow-up of Endgame. I think it hit on all cylinders. I think Tom Holland can be one of the new faces of Marvel, I think, so to speak. Well, that's what we thought. Yeah, what we thought.
The deal with Sony and Marvel decided to kind of break up just recently, since we've seen the movie, which kind of sucks. I love Spider-Man in the MCU. Unfortunately, he's not going to be there anymore.
Yeah, and the ending I thought was pretty good. It advanced the story, and from the way it looked, it was going to advance the whole Marvel cinematic universe.
So,
but I give it 4 stars, and what do you give it?
Oh, I'd definitely give it a 4 star. I love Spider-Man. I mean, I remember watching the cartoon in the 90s when I got home from school. You know, Spider-Man is just classic to me.
Yeah, so I would definitely catch it. If you haven't seen it, I'd catch that one.
The next movie on our list is Stuber. Stuber is about a detective who basically goes temporarily blind and hires an Uber driver named Stu to take him around to investigate this case that he was just being pulled off of, actually, at the beginning of the movie.
Yeah, and there are 2, I think it was his friend that died at the beginning of the movie.
His former partner died at the beginning of the movie. And
that's the case he'd been working on, and they finally pulled him off of it. And
then he gets a big lead right after he's had LASIK surgery and can't see.
Yeah, he gets a lead on it, and they're very polar opposites, but they're funny, and that's what I liked about it. Is they were 2 polar opposites. He's Dave Bautista is one of the main actors in it, and he's the detective, and he's very manly, and he's gonna go out there and like shoot first and ask questions later. And then the Uber driver is very, shy and kind of.
And he kind of breaks out of his shell by the end of the movie.
Yeah, he does. Yeah, and then he does. He's very funny as he's slowly going through this case and driving him around.
Yeah, we've already talked about both of them in this series because we had Drax the Destroyer in Avengers Endgame, and the guy who plays Stu, I can't remember his name right now, was in Men in Black International. He did the voice of Pawnee, the little alien guy.
I think that their comic timing together is pretty good, and it made me laugh the whole time. So I gave it 3 stars.
I laughed my butt off too. I definitely give it a 3 star.
And our next movie is a live adaptation of a Disney classic, The Lion King. A lot of big name actors and actresses lend their voices to the classic characters.
Yeah, you got Beyonce is like the one they're trying to headline, but
and Donald Glover, he's in it. He's a good actor.
Yep, and another actor we've already discussed from Long Shot, Seth Rogen as Pumbaa.
Yeah, and you also have James Earl Jones reprising his role as Mufasa.
That's right.
But this story is pretty much the same as the original cartoon.
Yeah, if you love the original Lion King, then you'll like this too. I think that I didn't think it was quite as good. Like, there's a couple parts where they deviated a little bit that kind of pulled me out of the movie. There were a couple parts where I deviated that were actually pretty funny too. But a couple of the jokes that they changed. But honestly, it was Beyonce's song that pulled me out of the movie, because they really didn't need to add a new song into that movie.
No, they didn't. I was okay with it, but they really didn't. I thought that their direction they were going with the movie was good, and I enjoyed it a lot. It's a basic story about how Simba grows up with his dad Mufasa, and then there was an accident that his Uncle Scar caused, and Mufasa ended up passing away, and then Simba would go off on his own and try to find himself.
Yeah, he met Timon and Pumbaa and grew up with them, and then eventually
they needed him to go back to Pride Rock, and Nala comes back to find him and bring him back.
Story.
Yeah, so I enjoyed it a lot, and I thought that this one, like Aladdin, was one of the 2 better ones this year, so I thought Disney did a good job with it, and I give it 4 stars.
Alright, I would definitely, I don't think I'd give it 4. I think I'd give it a 3.5, just because, like I said, it's classic, but I don't think they need to make some of the changes that they did. And the next movie on our list this week is the latest movie from director Quentin Tarantino, Once Upon a Time in Hollywood. It's quite an interesting movie.
Yeah, it was interesting. Leonardo DiCaprio, he plays an aging movie star turned TV star, because he used to be in the big Hollywood movies back in the 50s, and then then his career kind of waned a little bit, and
Petered off when he was in some westerns, and
yeah, and now
Brad Pitt's in it. He plays his
stunt devil, and driver too.
And driver.
He drives him around, and I thought Leonardo DiCaprio's performance was really good.
Yeah,
I mean,
his performance was really good.
He's had a lot of really good performances when he's done Tarantino movies in the past.
And Django Unchained
is the one that, that's the exact one. I love
Django. That's my favorite Tarantino movie.
When he plays Mr. Candy, the slave owner in that one, and the Mandingo owner. But this movie is really good. I thought Brad Pitt did a good job too as his stunt devil. And they, it's set like in late 70s Hollywood, so there's a lot of like old 70s commercials on the radio and things like that, and on TV.
Yep. Lots and lots of Easter eggs, from what I understand. I'm sure I didn't catch a lot of them because I haven't watched a lot of the older films. But, I mean, the movie was good, the story was good, it did drag.
Yes,
quite a bit.
Yeah,
there were a lot of points where it dragged because, well, Tarantino kind of has this habit of not editing a lot of stuff out.
Yeah, and I enjoyed it, but like Dan said, it did drag a little bit. I like the little Easter eggs that I do remember, and one of the things that I went into the movie thinking it was one thing, and it was not that, because I thought it would have to do with Charles Manson, which there is a reference to him in the movie, but it's not what I thought it would be.
Yeah, the whole cult thing, and everybody called him Charlie.
Yeah.
And at the end, there are the ones that come raid the house.
Yeah.
And they don't succeed, but
yeah,
that's a change from real life.
Yeah, because they were there to go to somebody else's house in the movie, but they ended up at Leonardo DiCaprio's house, and there was a little bit of wackiness there at the end, which
Brad Pitt's dog was really cool in that scene.
Yeah, and it's weird because I've seen other bits and pieces of other Tarantino movies, and this one wasn't as violent till the end, right?
Yeah, pretty much. This had the least violence of any Tarantino film, from what I understand.
Yeah. So if you're not like a huge Tarantino fan, I wouldn't like rush out and rent it. But if you are, then you'll love it. That one though, I give about 2 stars.
Yeah, I'd give it 2 stars as well. I mean, it's worth watching once, but after that, I think because of how it drags on, it's probably not worth the time.
And our final movie of the summer movie series is Hobbs Shaw, starring Dwayne Johnson.
Yeah, it's a spin-off of the Fast and the Furious franchise.
Yeah, and I've only seen just a handful of them. So when I seen the preview for this one, I was curious on how Jason Statham and
The
Rock, thank you, and The Rock played into this, but I enjoyed it. There's not really that huge of a plot to get into. If you like,
it's basically Mission Impossible 2 is what a lot of people are comparing it to. There's a virus, they have to stop it from being released, and wackiness ensues, and lots of action.
Oh yeah, lots of action and car chases.
The helicopter scene was awesome.
Yeah, and there's Elba is the villain in this movie, and I like Idris Elba. He's a really good actor.
He calls himself the Black Superman in it because he's like genetically modified, and not just genetically but mechanically. Like they've got implants in him. He's got a metal spine.
Yeah, and that was pretty cool. I thought that was cool, and I love the back and forth banter between Jason Statham and The Rock. They just are polar opposites, but they have one common thread in this, and it's
the fact that they hate each other.
Yeah, well, that's one of the common threads. Yeah.
Those are some of the best parts of the movies, when it just stops and they just make fun of each other back and forth. It's just hilarious. It's a really funny movie. It's really fun. Just shut your brain off and enjoy a summer movie. This one should be still in theaters, right? Well, it is now, but by the time this movie releases, or this video releases, it might not be. So, but if you haven't seen it, it might still be even in the second run theaters by the time this comes out.
But yeah, I enjoyed it a lot. There was some the funny scene. One of the funniest scenes I like is when The Rock beats that one of the guys in like 5 seconds, but Jason Statham has to smash the guy's head against the thing to get access to the door, but The Rock could go through his door pretty quickly.
Oh yeah, that was pretty funny. There was a facial recognition, and Jason Statham had to go through like 10 different guys to get the facial recognition to work, and The Rock went through one. Great movie.
Yeah, but for a summer movie, I'm going to say 3 stars. I mean, like Dan says, it's just shut your brain off and just hang out and chill.
Yeah, that's exactly what it is. It was a fun summer movie, and a popcorn movie, as they would call it, and I'd give it a 3 as well. So.
Oh, and then a quick note that there is a small cameo from Ryan Reynolds in it that made me laugh because I like Ryan Reynolds.
Yep, and there's even some stuff during the credits with Ryan Reynolds that's pretty funny. Also, if you haven't seen the end of Game of Thrones, he gives it away, or he gives away part of it during the post-credit scene, so you might want to skip those post-credits if you haven't finished Game of Thrones yet.
But on that one, I gave it 3 stars. What about you, Dan?
Yeah, I gave it a 3 as well.
Alright.
In summary, yesterday, Ricky gave it a 3, I gave it a 3.5. Spider-Man Far From Home, we both gave that one a 4, great movie. Stuber, we both gave that one a 3, very funny movie as well. The Lion King, 4 for Ricky, and 3.5 for me. Once Upon a Time in Hollywood, we both gave that a 2. And Hobbs Shaw, we both gave that a 3. Alright, and that just about does it for us today. I want to thank Ricky for joining me again.
Hey, no problem. I enjoyed talking about all the great movies we saw this summer.
Yeah, depending on the reception we get from these videos, I think maybe we'll do some more in the fall, winter, spring, whatever. See how it all goes.
Yeah, it was. There's a lot of good movies that we know that are coming out this fall and winter, and we'll maybe have to discuss them.
Yeah, definitely. So thanks again for watching. If you like the video, hit that like button. Consider subscribing if you're not. Leave a comment in the comments section. You can follow me on Facebook or Twitter or Instagram if you do the social medias. And until next time, make your life more fun by keeping it multidimensional. Catch you later.